Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook?
Fantastic, cool. So, DVSA Earned Recognition, the approval process. So understanding how the DVSA approval process works and those kinds of things. So if you're joining us live, welcome. I'm sat here in my office. I've flown around today doing some various bits and pieces, but I made it. So I'm quite pleased that I made it literally just in time. It was like 3 seconds to get onto this call. So that is quite exciting for me and good. I can see that my microphone's actually working. Please do drop a message in the comments if you can't hear me properly, but hopefully you can. And I've got people joining the live stream already, so that's exciting. It's fantastic. So the DVSA Earned Recognition process is something. So this month I've had a huge amount of audits to do for the Earned Recognition process, and it's quite an exciting time to be an audit provider. I must say, and it's been some investment in as a provider to make that happen as well. So as a business, Flagship Partners have had to invest in the ISO 9001 standard to ensure that we've got the right quality processes. I've got Mark next door. Mark, pop in and say hello to the audience if you'd like, mate. I forgot that I'd got this at 1 o'clock. So yeah, Mark has kindly commented that he's next door. He's literally in one of our training rooms around the corner. Him and I have been having a chat about earned recognition. So it's quite timely actually today for him to be here. And we've been talking about specific elements of earned recognition. Actually, there's a module around the mixer rollover process, and for mixer operators to have an additional module for earned recognition. And there are a few different additional modules, things like the HS2 program and those kinds of things. So they're a bolt onto the original earned recognition. But earned recognition is an absolutely fantastic program if you're wanting to demonstrate excellence in your operator licensing in your business. Then it is the standard to achieve. And I've been doing, like I say, I've been doing quite a few audits now. It's as an auditor, we get robustly quality assured by the DVSA as well to make sure that we're doing the audits in a way that's correct. Certainly, the first couple I put in, I got some feedback from their team there around the evidence requirements, which are really, really robust. There is a really robust process as part of the auditing to do. So what do you need to know as an operator who's considering earned recognition? Well, the thing to consider is, first of all, what benefits would there be for you? And one of the key one is no roadside stops, right? So everyone who runs vehicles knows that a roadside stop is a stressful occurrence. Whether you're committed to maintaining high levels of road safety and high levels of operation, you never really know what could come of that roadside stop or the challenges you may face. So obviously a PG9 is a massive inconvenience for anyone. And obviously we intend, and vehicles operators will always intend to never have that occur. But obviously in the event that it does, it can cause an additional amount of work and it could be a bit of a challenge. So, and earned recognition also is there's huge benefits to it because it's such a high standard of operation. It really does demonstrate that you're operating to high levels as a business. So when you go for procurement, when you go through, applying for work, it's a really good thing for people to be able to see. So the first thing is there a bit of an interest in it? The next thing to do would be to actually get online and have a look at the Gov website, which actually has the earned recognition standard on there. And it tells you the 10 key focus areas as well as the sampling requirements. So it's really worth going on and having a bit of a look at that. Obviously, if you want to have a chat with me or any of the other earned recognition auditors, to give them a call too, because they understand the standard. There's, one of the key considerations to think about with earned recognition, though, is one of the rules is that you can have support to prepare yourself for the audit, but if you have support, you can't then get audited by the same person, which is unlike some of the other standards in the industry, because there are, there are other standards where people might support you to get the standard, and then they might audit you as well, which is a bit of a conflict of interest. So as with anything with the DVSA, there must be no conflict of interest. So if you were interested in getting earned recognition and you'd like Flagship or myself to support you, that's fine. We can offer that service. We can help make sure you've got the policies in place. We can help guide you through the process. We can even help you during the audit process, but we aren't able to audit you. We would need to get someone else in to independently audit. Or likewise, if you think you're ready, we can help do the audit for you, but we wouldn't be able to consult on the process. You would need to write your own policies and your own procedures and those kinds of things. So that's obviously an important thing for people to think about. But all the information you've got is readily available online on the Gov site. Just search the DVSA Earned Recognition Standard, and a lot of the information is there that you need. Now, there are going to be some need for some policies. There's going to be some need for some procedures. And ultimately, the most important thing is actually being able to evidence that they are there, because when an auditor will come and have a look at things, they will want to see, that's fine, you explaining the process to me, but I need to actually evidence that as part of the audit process. So I need to really see that meeting's taken place, that disciplinary's happened, that follow-up meeting has occurred, what was the action taken off the back of that event. Those things need to be documented and made available for the auditor to be able to do that. So we've got high standards of evidence to be part of that process. Now, I think the initial thing for people to think about is, have they got the systems in place to meet the standards? So are they going to be able to report the systems they're using for TACO analysis and for maintenance? Are they going to be able to provide the KPI data that's required? So have a little look online. There are obviously approved software providers to think about. If you use the main software providers for TACO analysis and for vehicle maintenance, most of those, I believe, are DVSA Earned Recognition approved. But obviously it's worth checking. And if you want to transfer over to one that is approved, if you're not already, then please do have a chat with us. We do partner up with software providers, which we can help provide that too. But that isn't, I'm not here to pitch that at all. I'm just here to explain that you do need to be able to report those. So what happens on the reporting process, so people get a bit concerned about having to report their data to the DVSA. Actually, all that happens is where there's not a meeting of the standard, where a KPI is maybe dropped into below the standard that's expected, that is all that's reported on a monthly basis to the DVSA. And as long as you've got a narrative or an explanation behind that, as long as you understand what's occurring there and you've got some management process in place, chances are it's not actually going to be an issue. So there is that reassurance. And I think if you are interested and speak to the DVSA Earned Recognition team, they will reassure you of that actually, on occasion, things will happen, but it's about having the robust management and process in place to be able to ensure that the standard is quickly re-maintained and up there. So the first requirement is to make sure that we've got the right sort of software and the right sort of reporting mechanism. And the second is to make sure that we are achieving high MOT pass rate standards. So, and I think the other one is around not having any regulatory action in the last couple of years. But yeah, high standards of MOT pass rate. The standard is 95%, which is above the industry average. I think the industry average sits around 89, 90% first time pass rate. And you're going to need to demonstrate 95% over the previous 2 years. So that's a really good target to work towards. And obviously where you do have failures, there's going to be an expectation to ensure that you've got a process in place to investigate those MOT failures as well. So lots to think about, but those are the things to consider. And depending on the size of your business, depends on how long that audit process is going to take and how much it costs. So from a membership point of view, there is no fee for being a member, but you do have to have a 2-yearly audit for which an approved audit provider like ourselves will come in and will carry out that audit. And it depends on how big your fleet is as to how long that may take. But the audit process is quite robust. And certainly in my experience, it's taken a number of days. So to give you an idea, I've done reapproval for an operator with around 60 or 70 vehicles. and that reapproval process is taking sort of 3 to 4 days.
Hello, it's Shani from Flagship Partners. We are really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. If you need expert advice or training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We are really excited to announce the launch of our Transport Manager Academy. With expert development for fleet leaders, we offer fully accredited initial Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher, and operator license awareness training, as well as mentoring, support, and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is to develop elite fleet professionals.
And Chris, no worries if you've missed a bit. I will reshare it, and you can watch back a bit later on. No problem at all, mate. So appreciate you popping by and having a listen. But yeah, the reapproval process is what I've found is initial auditing can take a little bit longer because there's some actions required and some actions needed to get to the standard, and it needs to be a bit more really scrutinise a new operator who's looking to go onto the scheme. But someone who's already operating on the scheme may take a bit less time. But those who are already on the scheme that have been re-audited for the first time under the new audit procedure may find that actually it's a bit more of a robust process than it has been previously. But that's good, because ultimately it's important to have a standardised audit process. Previously, what had occurred was that there was an audit for earned recognition. Each of the audit providers had their own audit template, and that's now been standardised as a single template for the approved auditors to be able to come and audit your business. But depending on the size of your business, it depends on how many days that's going to take. And obviously, the more days, the larger the business, potentially, the more expensive the audit's going to be, because it's a time and motion thing. Anyway, what are the things that are going to be covered? Well, the 10 areas are clearly outlined online for you to go and have a look at. They include operator licensing, so important things like making sure you've got the correct legal entity on your operator's license, ensuring that if you're a limited company, company's house and your operator license are matching up, because it's important to make sure your directors are properly named on your O license, making sure that you're operating within your authorization for your vehicles and trailers, those kinds of things. So the absolute fundamental basics, and that you've got processes in place to ensure that the traffic commissioner is notified as per your undertakings if there is a change to the business, the operation, or to the vehicles, those kinds of things. And then the second area focuses on the transport manager, so ensuring that a transport manager is competent, has a certificate of competence, but also, interestingly, has ongoing CPD as well. So there is a requirement to have a 5-yearly refresher, which is important, and to have that with a organisation that is qualified and approved to deliver the transport manager CPC qualification. Additionally to that, things like transport manager briefings and other CPD events, reading press, that kind of stuff. We're looking for that kind of evidence from the transport manager to show that they're committed to staying on top of the current best practice and legislation. We then look at section 3, which is around vehicle standards. So there's a sampling process to make sure that vehicles are maintained on time, that the service sheets are maintained and signed off in accordance with the requirements of the Guide to Maintaining Roadworthiness. We also will look at making sure brake testing happens and that vehicles are serviced within the declaration that's made to the traffic commissioner as part of the granting of your license. Vehicle standards is a thing, and the sampling requirements is stated online. So depending on the size of your fleet, we'll be able to tell you what size the sampling is for that. Then we've got section 4, which is driver's hours. So how are we managing driver's hours? Obviously, there's a lot of legislation around EU driver's hours. How, if you have a mixed business, so if you do some GB domestic and some EU driver's hours, we look at how that's managed. We look to check that infringements are debriefed, and that if there's persistent, repeatable offenders, that there's a process in place for that as well. So the driver's hours is obviously fairly straightforward, and again, that is sampled, and we take a sample of drivers and we look at infringement rates, working time for infringements, and any MSIs, most serious infringements too. Section 5 is around operational management, and section 6 is around security requirements. So security wise, we're going to need a security policy, and I've just lost my mouse a minute. Where's my mouse gone? There you are. So I'm just going to refresh myself a little bit on section 5 there. So operational requirements are just working past driver's hours. That is some section 4 there. Poor blimey. And section 5, yeah, so operational management. So how we record and report KPIs. So we're going to talk about that. Making sure that insurance is met, that we've got the right types of insurance. Making sure that we maintain vehicle weight and height compliance is very important too. Making sure there's, looking for training and process around reducing the likelihood of bridge strikes. Making sure that all specialist equipment has what it needs. Making sure that agency drivers are looked after in the same way as your normal drivers, normal employed, I don't mean normal, employed drivers, contracts are in place, service levels are maintained, that subcontractor hauliers are operating effectively, and there's the right checks in place for that, those kinds of things, so good practices in place there. Again, security requirements, section 6, so making sure that we've got the right processes in place to ensure that the operator centres are secure and safe, making sure that terrorism, the risk of terrorism is reduced as much as possible, making sure that key security is being looked after for, so that drivers are making sure that their vehicles can't be used as a weapon. That kind of thing is what we're looking at for section 6. Section 6, sorry. Get my teeth back in. I'm just going to have a quick swig of water. It's good to see the numbers increasing on the live. Yeah, really appreciate that. So thank you for staying by. Hope that's interesting for you. Section 7 is around driver management. So driver management is making sure that the recruitment of drivers, CPC, is managed, making sure that pay and incentives are legal and compliant with your operator license undertakings, and making sure that driver behaviour is monitored and managed effectively within your business too. Section 8 around training. So this is really important part of the earned recognition standard, making sure we're going not just proactively organising CPC management. Here he is. Here's the man himself. Managing CPC, future planning CPC. This is Mark, by the way. Mark Cowan.
I'm not stopping.
He's not stopping.
I was going to say I was off on my train.
Okay, mate.
And I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, no worries, Mark. Appreciate that.
Tell everybody your recognition in your company population module. That's the one they need to aspire to.
Stop on, mate. Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much, mate. Cameo appearance from Mark Cowan of Min Train there and the British Aggregate Association. He's got to go and catch a train back up north. And then there's a requirement for additional policies. So section 9, look at me, not even breaking a sweat here. Number 9 is around additional policies, things like mobile phone, drink, drugs policy. How's that implemented? Is there evidence of it? Whistle blowing, making sure that vehicles are parked considerately when they're away from base, those kinds of things. And then finally, section 10 is around ADR and the carriage of dangerous goods, if that's applicable to your business, which for some of you it will be and some of you won't. And if you do have ADR, then you will hopefully already know your requirements to have a relevant contract with a DVSA and the guidance that you need and those kinds of things. Anyway, so I hope that's been interesting. What happens is the audit gets completed and you get provided with, if you've met all the standards, you're going to get provided with a green audit as well as a sample, which you then send off to the DVSA Earned Recognition team with your membership application, or if it's a renewal, you send it off to be renewed. And then that audit gets QA'd, which is quality assured. So the DVSA team will make sure that my audit or whoever carries out that audit has carried out a comprehensive audit that is properly evidenced, that everything that you need is in there. And if they've got any queries, they'll come back to the auditor on that. And then after a period of time, sometimes they might need to come and visit you. We have had a new operator come on and they had their own workshop. And the DVSA asked if they could come and visit and just make sure that certain things were in place that they wanted, and they wanted to be able to evidence that themselves. So that may happen, but obviously they'll guide you through that process if it's a requirement for you. And and then once you're approved, then there's new stickers which are available from Doors Highways, and you'll be able to put those on the side of your vehicle, and they'll be you can make a bit of fuss from a marketing point of view that you're now DVSA Earned Recognition approved operator. But if anyone's got any questions I hope this has answered the majority of them, but if you've got anything specific, please do get in touch. I'm here to help. I can't believe I've managed to waffle for 20 minutes about earned recognition. I'm quite happy that that's the case, and I hope that it's been of value to you. If you do have any questions, please do fire them across to me, and I'm here to help. I think it's a fantastic scheme, and it's something that you should absolutely consider. Like Mark said, operational standards, making sure they're high, keeping high levels of operational performance in the industry is absolutely vital, and it improves road safety for everyone too. So very, very important stuff for people to consider. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.